Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing related tweets, or you can subscribe to the channel, click that notifications button and get a new notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Let's talk boxing. Let's get a little bit controversial. I know that the prevailing narrative has been to be very critical of Malik Scott for his comments regarding being 10 times the fighter of Muhammad Ali, Deontay Wilder that is. But let's get to the nitty gritty of this, because I'm going to try and mount a defense, a potential defense for Malik Scott here. Now, don't get me wrong, it is very, very possible and plausible that he's just a delusional dude or a guy who's a yes man, and as a result of being a yes man, he doesn't want to rock the boat. There could be various motives for that. Maybe he doesn't want to affect his friendship with Deontay Wilder. A lot of fighters take it personally when you question their ability. Potentially that could be the case, or it could be that he's a yes man because he wants that bag, he wants that paycheck, he doesn't want to miss out on the money of the 10% of being a trainer or whatever it is that they've agreed. So there's that potential there. But what I want to do in this video is explore the possibility that Malik Scott is actually playing quite a smart psychological game here. So I did a video a while back, which I'll put in the description box of this video for those of you that haven't seen it, which discusses the psychology of Deontay Wilder, and it compares the psychology of Wilder to Muhammad Ali. Tyson Fury falls in that bracket too, and in that video it discusses that, and it talks about the differences between them two and somebody like Anthony Joshua, and the strengths that it provides and the opportunities that it provides, the benefits that it provides for fighters like Wilder, as well as the trade-offs and the negatives that it gives to have that sort of mentality. And it also deals with the opposite of that, of course. You know, what benefits does Anthony Joshua have for having a different mindset, and what trade-offs are there? So I'm going to put that video in the description box of this video. If you've not seen it, I implore you to watch that video first and then come back to this one, so you can understand more where I'm coming from with this. Ultimately, what we are essentially discussing though here is not the level of Deontay Wilder. When I talk about the similarities with Muhammad Ali, I'm talking about a mindset. I'm not talking about stylistically. I'm not talking about the skill set that he has at his disposal. We're talking about the mindset. Now, when you're taking that into account, you have to understand that Deontay Wilder is very much, or a guy of that mindset, is very much a guy that has almost unshakable confidence, at least on the outside. At least that's the persona that they convey to the world. Now, if you are that sort of fighter, your confidence is a central tenet of your ability to win fights. It's that belief that no matter what anybody tells you, you believe that you will overcome an obstacle. Muhammad Ali was told time and time again, you are not going to beat George Foreman. You cannot beat Sonny Liston. You cannot come back after being away from the sport for 3 years and come back and suddenly catapult yourself to an elite level of the sport, right? And that obviously helped him because it drove him on, and he was able to achieve some of the most memorable nights in the history of the sport. Having said that, that level of delusion, because that is what it is, it's delusions of grandeur. That level of delusion also led to him continuing for far too long, which ultimately led to him losing to the likes of Spinks, which led to him becoming a shell of a man that he, at least that he was beforehand, physically speaking, right? Well, Deontay Wilder is cut from that sort of cloth mentally. People have told him, you're not technically gifted enough to make it to the top of the heavyweight division. You're not good enough to be able to dominate and knock these guys out. You're going to get exposed by the boxers. And he believed in himself, and he was always at the top of the sport. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say he held that belt hostage, he ducked fighters, and so on and so forth. Whatever the case might be, the fact of the matter is, with his power, he felt as though he could overcome any obstacle. Now, the reality of that, well, clearly those views weren't based in reality, right? And they were violently and explosively exposed against Tyson Fury. Now, when that occurred, what you had was Deontay Wilder have to look at himself in the mirror and essentially confront the concept of his own perceived immortality. He realized that I'm not a superhero, I'm a human being. Or did he? All the excuses that came out, were they shaped to convince his own fans to get behind him? Only this unbelievable conspiracy against him could have led to him losing? Or was it a psychological trick that he invests in intellectually himself because he cannot fathom the concept that another man did that to him. If it's the latter, then you have to understand that this man's delusions of grandeur, which can catapult him to the top, have also led to him having to lie to himself about what transpired there that night. Now, in that scenario, what you get is a guy that has to continue to build on that mythology. He has to continue to convince himself that I am capable of overcoming Tyson Fury. I am the best. I am the man. Because the moment he stops thinking like that is the moment he loses that air of contemptuous superiority, that concept of his own invincibility, and all of a sudden he's no longer the fighter he was before. And the reason he's no longer the fighter he is before is because Deontay Wilder relies on the idea, the very notion, that no matter how badly a fight's going, I will time this man and I will take him out with my right hand. Was he not losing every round against Gerald Washington? Did he not have some very scary moments against Luis Ortiz? How many rounds did he actually win against Luis Ortiz over the 2 fights? And not just against those guys. There have been much lesser fighters, Melina and so on and so forth, Dualpa, who have not been elite level fighters, that were winning rounds against him, Artur Szpilka. But he has that belief that no matter what you bring to me, the tide will turn in my favor. It is destiny. You have no way of overcoming this. It's this almost like a concept of a boxing immortality, and he has to feed into that, because if he doesn't have that mentality, as he stops thinking that way and he's falling behind on the scorecards, and maybe he's taking some sort of shellacking like he was against Tyson Fury in the second fight, that self-belief evaporates, and without self-belief and confidence as a fighter, you're nothing. So he needs that. Now G-Man, not G-Man Boxing, this is another subscriber, G-Man, G-Man, he wrote an interesting comment, which I'm going to read out to you guys on the last video. He wrote, Malik Scott, talking about Wilder being 10 times the man Ali was, just speaks volumes about the mentality of Wilder, a straight narcissist who needs people to worship him in order for him to have the confidence. Wilder never struck me as an overly confident man before he went to the Joshua Klitschko fight, but beating Luis Ortiz and the money that came with it sent him crazy. If Scott has clocked Wilder's narcissism, then perhaps he's doing the right thing. The other fanboy channels are laughable, with no credibility in my opinion. That was just regarding the other video I made. That was on a video called Wilder Picked Fights to be Charitable, Bias in Grassroots Boxing, Media Driven by Promoter Pressure. Now, as you can see from that video and the other videos I've done on Deontay Wilder, I'm neither a fanboy nor am I a massive critic of his in terms of his ability. I believe he's a very good heavyweight. I believe there are levels of delusion there. So the point is, I'm not coming from an angle where I'm attacking him, and I'm not coming from an angle of a fanboy who will defend him or his team under any circumstances. But that's a great comment there from G-Man, and I agree with him, because what he's ultimately talking about here is the motive of Malik Scott. So let's talk about that for a moment. This idea that Malik Scott is a yes man is very possible, like I said. However, if he was a delusional guy, they wouldn't be working on so many new things. He would just be telling him, you're 10 times the skilled fighter that Muhammad Ali was, and leave it at that. Continue to do the same old thing. That would also be the case if he was just looking for a payday. But instead what we're seeing is, behind the scenes, they're attempting to alter the style of Deontay Wilder. They're attempting to work on things that could essentially progress him as a fighter. And that suggests to me that regardless of what they say publicly, he believes that Deontay Wilder needs to grow. Now, there's a difference between having a skill set at your disposal and using it. So the angle that he could be coming at here is by saying, listen, you're 10 times the fighter of Muhammad Ali was, at least in skill, but Deontay, you're not using it, bro. You're not using it. Why are you just going out there and trying to throw a right hand? You can do everything. You can move. You got a jab. Everyone talks about your right hand. Yeah, we know about that right hand, but you got a jab. You got a left hook. You're athletic. You're fast. Why don't we bring these skills to the fore? Why don't you show the world what you can do? I know you're the best guy in the world. I know that what they did out there, sell you out like that. They cheated. They tampered the gloves. They had a treacherous trainer in the camp. Julius Caesar moment. This is your moment to rise again. Come on, Deontay, you got this, bro, but we got to work on some things. We got to bring out the best in you. All of a sudden, it doesn't come across as so stupid or as a yes man, does it? It comes across to me almost like in a school setting, when you've got a kid who's a really naughty kid, and he's a troublemaker and he never listens in class, he does something basic, like turn up to his lesson on time, and the teacher gives him a gold star. You remember those gold stars? The more of those gold stars you got, you'd get little prizes, whatever it might have been. A method of reinforcing good behaviour. Well, another student will turn up on time, and that student won't get a gold star. So that unfair approach to reward, that carrot and the stick approach, is not the same across the board. Because what the teacher's trying to do is tap into the psychology of that individual student. Well, is this what Malik Scott's doing? Rather than just saying, listen, you need to improve in the way you'd say to a student, you need to start hitting the books. Instead, you offer a little reward. You guide them in. You say, here's a gold star. You're such an intelligent kid. You're capable of so much. You can achieve anything you want, but you're not putting in the effort. Or you're very good at these subjects, but not these ones. You're capable of getting A's in those. Come on, let's do this. Let's get behind it. Just a bit of extra work. Why don't we try this and that? And I bet you by the end of the year, you're going to prove you're the smartest kid in the class with the best grades in the class. Is that what Malik Scott is doing here with Deontay Wilder? And if so, talking about him being 10 times the skilled fighter that Muhammad Ali is doesn't come across as so ludicrous, does it? Let me know what you think, guys. Is this a method to essentially manipulate Deontay Wilder into playing ball and into improving without taking away his confidence? Now, as I've said in another video, which I will also put in the description box of this video, there'll be 2 links. I spoke about what would happen if things go dramatically wrong in this third fight against Tyson Fury. If he's getting a beating, is it possible that when that self-confidence evaporates, that he quits on his stool? We've never seen that from him, and he is a warrior. Make no mistake, Deontay Wilder's got balls of steel, man. He hangs in there when he takes beatings. You've got to give this guy credit. But if the realization that he's no longer Superman comes out in the middle of a crisis, is he going to give up? Because one thing you'd have to ask yourself is, will Malik Scott have the intestinal fortitude, the balls, the guts to go against the public pressure? Because that's what it is from the LDBC. They've already put him under intense pressure by believing the narrative that Breland and JD were perhaps betrayers, treacherous individuals behind Deontay Wilder looking to put the dagger in the back. With that in mind, even if it's what's best for Deontay Wilder, it will take a very brave Malik Scott to say, Deontay, enough is enough, I'm pulling you out. So will Deontay Wilder capitulate, or will he hang in there like the warrior that he is and potentially even, God forbid, get hurt? Well, if we leave that possibility aside and just talk about the route to victory, whatever happens, he has to maintain that level of a never say die attitude, where he believes no matter if he's 9 rounds down and after the 9th round, that he'll still find that right hand. And that requires an incredible level of self-confidence. And maybe that is what Malik Scott is feeding into. He's fertilizing the growth of that self-confidence, that belief that you are 10 times the guy Muhammad Ali was, you're 10 times the guy Mike Tyson was, you're 10 times the guy Joe Louis was, Marciano, Klitschko, Lennox Lewis, whichever guy you want to talk about in history. There's no one like you, Deontay. And this is your moment to shine. There's 1 round left. You got 3 minutes. You only need half a second. Go out there, believe in yourself, and take this guy out. Right? That could be the speech at the end of round 11. Let me know what you think, guys. Or is it just me overanalyzing and Malik Scott is a complete lunatic who has no interest in improving Deontay Wilder, or he might have an interest in it, but he has no concept about how to do that, and he's just talking in the public? Let me know. Thanks for watching, everyone. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.